Hello, welcome to episode. Which one? 3 or 2? Well, well, I didn't start out too well. Welcome to Liner Chat with Tony Strublic, the famous artist. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing good on this beautiful Father's Day, except the storm is here. Leo.
Oh, have a storm going on?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Or sir. Sorry, I was done. Sorry. I'm trying to talk to my cat at the same time. Yep.
That's what happens when you don't have a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's called a lot worse, so don't feel bad.
Well, yeah, there is a storm going on outside, but I'm pretty sure it's not too bad. That wasn't a very good start. You were saying before we actually started recording that you just got done going with your tour.
Yeah, I just got back from an art show. I live in Marinette, Wisconsin, which is about 45 minutes north of Green Bay, and that's right on the Wisconsin Upper Peninsula border. And the show I went to was in Lower Michigan, over by Traverse City and in that area. So it's a good 5-hour drive to get there from here. And they're in Eastern time, I'm in Central time. So even though it's a 5-hour drive, on the way there, technically it's 6 because you have to factor in the hour. On the way home, it seems a little bit easier, but still a 5-hour drive. And it was late when I got back. So I was a little tired this morning, but and then for Father's Day, I came down to my parents. They live in a little town called Watoma, which is in central Wisconsin, about 35 minutes west of Oshkosh. So if you look, you'll have to look on your maps to find that, for those of you that don't know where that is. So that I came down here for Father's Day, and so it's been a lot of driving the last couple days. So I'm tired, but I'm here we are.
I understand the long drives. I am originally from Illinois, so me and my family, we had to drive 10 hours to get down here. That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when I think of Wisconsin, I think of the Edmund Fitzgerald. It automatically pops in my mind. How far were you from the wreck site? Because I know it's in Lake Superior. Yeah.
I was quite a ways away from it. That happened just off the Whitefish Point Peninsula in Lake Superior, and the ship went down about 17 miles off the coastline there. And I was a good, let's see, about 3 hours away from there. So it was quite a ways away. But yeah, you're right. A lot of people, they think of Wisconsin or Michigan, and they think of the Edmund Fitzgerald because that's the most famous of all of the Great Lakes shipwrecks. So that's the one that's brought up the most, and it's the one that's most popular at my shows I go to. I do all my shows around the Great Lakes, so that one is by far. If I have to have many prints, not only unframed but framed and hanging on the wall too for sale. So because all people recognize that. Even I'll get small children, 5, 6 years old. In fact, I've had that with the Edmund Fitzgerald and the Titanic, where they come and they point to it and, Mom, Dad, look, Edmund Fitzgerald or the Titanic, or, so it's really neat that kids know that stuff. But yeah.
Especially, with today's kids, all they know is about technology. So when someone actually brings up about a ship, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, you know about a ship? That's amazing.
Yeah, that's neat to see that. They're learning outside of, playing with their phones. It's nice to see that.
Well, a fellow ship friend of mine, Ryan Wade, which actually, he's here. Oh, cool. Hey, Ryan. He actually said it's our generation's duty to show these young kids what loving ships is all about, and that we don't want this generation today forget about the ships, because then I lost my train of thought. Like Ryan said, it's just it's
I
our
know where you're going with.
yeah it's our duty. So it can be brought down generation after generation. Like for example, my fiance Sarah, she didn't know nothing about ships except about the USS Kidd in Baton Rouge or about Titanic. So it's amazing that we get to share these with our loved ones and our families.
Yes. Agree.
Now, in the Titanic's Connection podcast, you said one of your favorite ships is the SS United States, correct? Or
Yeah. Yes.
like, have you ever been on her, and can you explain the reason why she's one of your favorites?
No, I've never been on her, never been out to her, I haven't seen it in person, but just I think because it was almost like a transition from classic liners into, I don't want to say the modern look because they're so vastly different now than they were, but I think it was some of that, just because it still had a classic liner look to it, but it still had it had a real sleek look, more of a modern look, and you couldn't miss those two funnels. I mean, the pictures of the ship from far away, you cannot mistake that for anything else. So I think that's a big reason why.
There's another friend of mine who actually lives near Philadelphia, Carl Weiss. He said that when he passes, even from far away, all you can see from the interstate is a big old freaking funnels.
Yeah.
And I know William Gibbs actually wanted big funnels. He liked ships with big funnels because that introduced power.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Does anyone have a question for Tony while my mind goes back straight? Yeah, hey Ryan.
I've got something though. It's not really a question. It's more of just a moment. Oh my God! I got this week.
Oh yes.
It's beautiful, man.
Awesome. Looks great.
I love it. I still need to find. I'm so cross. I have like the frame I had for it. Like it's literally about that much too big, so I need to get a frame for it still. Oh, sorry, too small. Not too small. So I still need to get one for it. But no, I will get one. But it's gorgeous. I'm glad I picked that one. It's a very nice representation of how she was in Belfast. I love it.
It's a very unique one. That was a commission I did for, I don't know if some of you know who Dan Sheridan is. As a young man that's very into ocean liners as well. And this was a few years ago. I think it was 2015, if I'm not mistaken. It should say on the print when it was finished. But he wanted a drawing of the Titanic being launched. And I said, wow, that's going to be a challenge, big challenge. The ship itself, not so much, because in many ways it was very basic. There were no funnels, no masts, no rigging. It was very basic, but the gantry around it was going to be the challenge, trying to recreate that as best I could, and trying to find as any photos I could from certain angles, especially from the water side, was difficult. But I think I managed to get it pretty good. One thing that's interesting too, and you know about this, Ryan, is if you look at the right side, the far right side, you can see the very tip of the bow of the Nomadic in there.
Yep.
And I added that in there because in a later photo, in the Titanic and Photographs book, you can see the Titanic after being launched. You can see the Nomadic chugging past on its way out to accompany Olympic. And I thought, well, this would be a really interesting idea. What about having Nomadic sitting there waiting out the launch at anchor, just the bow, just as, what's going to happen, in a few moments happen. So I thought that was an interesting addition. So that's something to point out to people a lot of times because they don't notice it there at first.
I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you like it.
I love it, man. It's awesome.
I'm glad to see it arrive safely too.
Oh yeah. So have a very nice home here anyway, my friend.
I'm glad to hear that.
Tony, how did your show go the other day?
It was a smaller show. I had never been to this area before. So it was a little less than I thought it might be, but you know, I have this discussion with people sometimes too, is the things that I do need to be in a certain area to be successful. So if I'm inland at all, and I consider inland about, 15, 20 miles away from water, I consider that a gray area because people aren't focused on ships because they're right on the water. They're thinking about freighters or liners or lighthouses. They're focusing, when they're closer to water. When they're inland away from it, there aren't as many, I think, that are expecting to see those types of things. So they're not really, their eyes aren't open for it. So it was a little down, but again, it was the first time going there, and you don't know what to expect. So you have to go prepared for both success and for some disappointment, and that's just the way the art field is. It's never going to be always a success, and that's something it's taken me a little bit to learn that. But that does happen. So I do have another show coming up in Sault Ste. Marie, which on Friday, this coming Friday, which is Sault Ste. Marie, for those of you that don't know, is where the locks are that the freighters travel between Lake Huron and Lake Superior. They're raised up 21 feet or lowered 21 feet because of that. That's the difference in the height of the lakes. And that's a huge, huge area for tourists to go to view these ships. You can get pretty close to them, which is difficult to do. You can be fairly close. So that'll be an area that I know will be more successful. I've been there before, so I'm expecting better things there. So hopefully it is anyway.
All right. Good job. Very good. It must have been nice to just get out.
It is. It's nice to get out somewhere with everything that's gone on. And I'll tell you, it is disappointing though to see on the way some places that are closed and are for sale that won't reopen, because of all that's happened. And a lot of the tourist area, those tourist areas have taken a hit, and some of those small mom and pop shops, like on the highway I take, it's US 2, and it runs across the UP to St. Ignace, which is where the northern side, the Mackinac Bridge is. So that's the northern entrance to the bridge. But a lot of mom and pop shops that sell beef jerky and pasties. For those of you that don't know what those are, it's like a little meat pie, and it's kind of shaped like a calzone. It's not as big as that, but it's shaped similar to that. A lot of stores sell those things. So beef jerky, pasties, but it's sad to see some of those places are closed, and they have for sale signs out in front, which means they're done. And it's kind of sad to see. A lot of places I go past all the time, and now they're gone. So, but it is nice to get out and travel somewhere else and be able to do, if it's not completely normal, do some of the things I love to do, which is set up at shows. So
I see that happen all over the country. I was just talking to a friend from Mississippi, and where he works just closed over the past week. It's not just the little mom and pop places. It's
yeah, and it's right. It's not just.
It's
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It's really sad, but yeah, I'm glad you're able to get out and get your stuff out there. Hopefully things will start getting back to normal. Look, it's Jake. Hey, Jake.
Hello.
Jake's here. There he is.
I know how you feel about getting out because me and Sarah, you know, as y'all probably know, I also have a liking for, you know, historic buildings, mansions. I can't say the other word because I don't know who's watching. But we just went to one, and it was awesome because we went it for our 2-year anniversary. And on our way down, like Mr. Tony said, I just saw so many for sale signs on some businesses, and actually that made me kind of tear up because these are people's livelihoods. You know, it's like me with Sam's Club, that's my job, or Tony with his work, that's his job, and it's really important that we keep things open because if we lock down again, that's just going to make our economy even worse. So we have to keep things open for our economy's sake, and I don't think some people get it. But
you know, and people are ready to go out. You know, they're showing up at shows, and there are, you know, social distancing things that they're doing at these shows. At least, you know, these two I did the last 2 weekends were run by the same people, so you know, they were pretty good about having one flow of traffic, you know, going through the show. And, you know, you could wear your mask. You didn't have to wear a mask. It was optional. Gloves, I provided in my booth. I provided gloves if you wanted to wear gloves to go through the prints. And, you know, if you wanted to purchase something, I was, you know, ready. Gloves ready to take things off the wall. I mean, you know, it was easy. No one complained about anything. No one had any problems with the way things were run. So I mean, people are ready to get out. People are ready to go do things.
I know I am.
Yeah, I know. I think we all are. And that's what the nice thing is about getting to somewhere else and seeing how things are doing somewhere else. You know, it's nice to see. Okay, yeah, these guys are. You know, businesses are open and people are out and. You know, people are at restaurants and bars. You know, it's nice to see it.
Just a quick comment. I don't have the Pro yet, so this thing is about to like expire. I'll let everyone know so we can redo the 40 minutes because this is gonna go on to like 4:30 or 5:30 at least around. So if I have to end it, I'll let y'all know, and then we'll restart it back up.
Absolutely not. I'm done.
Hi, Amber.
Hey, Amber.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I came to my room to find something, and then over an hour passed, and I realized instead of looking for what I was looking for, I ended up cleaning. But I didn't really clean. I pretty much threw everything on bed and made a mess of.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
It's clean.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to do anything myself at home. You know, everything's piled up because I've been traveling so much. So I hear you. I know.
Can I jump in for like 2 seconds? Tony, did you say so a couple of minutes ago? Did you say something about a pasty?
Yes.
You know what a pasty is? I thought that was just like a UK thing.
No, that's really, really big in the Upper Peninsula. It's huge. It's I mean, it's on the menu at restaurants. You know, like I said, the any of the gift shops that are on the road, you know, you stop at and they have pasties. A lot of them make their own and sell them. Yeah, it's absolutely it's a thing. You guys,
me, like, you know what a sausage roll is, please.
If I what?
Tell me if you know what a sausage roll is.
I do not know. No.
Oh no! Nobody knows what a sausage roll. Jake, explain to this wonderful man how a sausage roll will change his life.
It will. It will.
I
mean, it's a sausage in past. Is it pastry? Pastry.
It's like sausage meat in pastry, and
Yeah.
it's the best thing known to man.
So
it sounds good. If it's sausage
if you like,
pastry, then I would love it.
If you like pasties, you're gonna like pasties will be like a thing of the past if you have a sausage roll. Just saying.
Oh.
But it tastes good in ranch. I
People,
Anything
I'm putting
tastes good in
myself on
ranch.
mute.
if anybody's had a pasty around, you know, but everybody likes, a lot of people like to eat theirs with ketchup. Yeah. And
Yep, I do that.
gravy on it. So,
Ryan's face.
Okay, I know that's just weird.
I love how we go from ships to food.
Yeah.
Well, it's just kind of synonymous, you know. I mean,
It's
you know.
close to dinner time in many areas, and I think that's probably why.
Well, it's like 4:16 here, so yeah, it's about right. But anyway, back to ships. I remember the first time I actually started talking to you. You were talking about your love of ships actually got you started because of your dad. You said?
Directly, it was. I think you got a combination of things there. I think it was the artwork thing is more or less where I learned from my dad. You know, not really directly because it was something that I never really have seen any of his work, but the ships started from the movie The Last Voyage with the screaming kid, and I think yeah, and you all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's how the love of ships started. But the art thing is definitely from my dad, and then I kind of just combined the two things without really realizing I was doing it because I was a kid. You know, I didn't really know what I was doing, and it grew from there. So
Sarah just dropped something. Speaking of that movie, I know that movie has a lot of controversy on the sinking of the de France, and I've always wanted to ask, famous like authors or artists, what do you think the way she went? Do you think she should have sank that way and for the movie, or do you think they should have just not sank her at all? If that's a question. Like, how do I explain this?
I don't think they sank it, did they? I think it was just more visual effects to make it look like it was sinking. I don't think they sank it. Most of it was set.
They flooded certain parts of it, but they didn't necessarily sink it.
Oh.
I know they flooded certain areas, like the engine room. That definitely they flooded that area. But that was all real footage from that when the water came in. You know, when the bulkhead gave way in that scene in the movie. But I don't think they sank the ship completely. I think they flooded certain areas. But I'll tell you, for the right price, I think anything is. They bought it from I shouldn't say they bought it, but they hired it from the Japanese shipwrecking company and made the movie. And I know the French were very, very upset about it. But yeah, anything can be done for the right price, I guess.
Well, I will say this. I understand why the French were upset, but if they didn't want it to be sunk or anything like that, why did they sell it out to the Japanese breaking yard? Why didn't they make it as a hotel?
Economics. I'm sure that there was just enough resources probably to, and you got to have the right people to do it. It's not just, hey, we're going to park the ship here and everybody come over and, stay on board. And, you got to have the right people to do it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. My mind's just completely blank today. I only got like maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep, so I know this podcast is kind of up and down. But
Tony, what are you working on now? Are you working on any new pieces now that you can share with us, or?
I do have some commissions going. A new one of the Olympic, which within probably the next week or so, I should have it mostly finished. It's a smaller piece. It's an 8x10, which is a little more difficult to do. However, it's more of a bow-on type, not like the bow-on ones you guys have seen lately, but it's more where it's sailing towards you. Yeah, it's not like that. It's more from the side. It's a starboard side sailing towards you. So working that way, I can use a smaller board because it's up and down rather than this way. So I can get more detail running it that way. So that one I'm working on. I'm also working on, and this is more of a stretch too. I'm working on a Cunard liner from the 1880s, the Etruria, and that one is going to have, hopefully when it's done, I'm going to have the forward sails set, which is something I'm not usually used to doing. I don't usually work in the sailing ship part of it, but it was one of the last ships that was equipped with sails, full sails, in addition to the steam power. So the customer wanted to have it at full sail because there really aren't any pictures of it that way. There's a couple of illustrations, but nothing, really photograph-wise. So those are 2 liners that I'm working on. And I do have 2 brand new Titanic pieces that I did allude to a little bit in the last discussion with Titanic Connections. It's a side view of the Titanic. It's a larger, it's a 16 by 24, so it's a larger one. And there's also a port stern drawing that I'm going to be working on, which I think is going to be fantastic once it's done. It's the overall layout really turned out just about perfect the way I wanted. So those are, at least off the top of my head, those are 4 liners that I'm working on. And I do have some Great Lakes ships too that I'm doing. A few ships that are retired. So yeah, there's some projects going on right now, and discussing with somebody right now about the Edmund Fitzgerald, doing one for somebody, and another freighter called the Arthur M. Anderson, which was the ship trailing the Edmund Fitzgerald on his last voyage across Lake Superior. So those 2 are, linked together because of the Anderson following the Fitzgerald. So yeah, I'm working, and I have a few others too. Obviously put on the spot, I kind of forget what they are. So, I hope if anybody is listening that has their commissions going, don't take offense. So, in addition to getting all the, getting ready for shows, even though I'm not really preparing any new artwork for those, I still have to make sure that I have prints in stock and, everything ready. So that takes up a lot of time too. So, yeah, I've been fairly busy.
That's good though. So did you have, since you've been doing these Zoom events, have you noticed that your business has picked up some, or is it just usually this busy this time of year?
Well, I have some more sales off the website, which is great. This time of year, I would be, let's see, 3-4 art shows in by now, and obviously the main ones that I normally go to were canceled. But picking up the smaller shows is going to help a little bit. But yeah, it's the website definitely is busier. And for those that want to know what that is, it's strublicmaritimedrawings.com, and all my work is there, everything, including all of the framed prints and framed originals that I've done. Everything is on there, so you can order off of there, and you can order direct through me, whichever you like to do. So
awesome.
Tony, may I ask a question? Oh, sorry, Amber, you can go ahead.
Okay, so Tony, I found something when I was cleaning a ship I drew in high school. You want to see it?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, it's nothing compared to yours, so don't laugh.
Oh, I would not. I have to get closer to the screen. Oh, I see. Oh,
Oh,
that's
wow.
actually pretty cool.
That's actually really nice.
Super.
That's really nice.
Wow.
Thanks. It
Yeah,
says
that's
American
big.
clip mid 1800s.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
all
that's yeah, that's
Impressive.
one thing I really got into was sailing ships.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I don't have many requests to do them. Everybody more or less stays with steamships.
All right, Tony, think you can do it?
Also in the candy bar.
What's that?
I also drew a dolphin and a candy bar.
Ew.
Her real passion. Chocolate. Very good, Amber. Very good.
My medicine.
Just to let y'all know, we do have 10 minutes, and we'll probably have to restart it again. Great. I just tried to put buy it, but for some reason my Chrome won't pick it up. It's just the Internet Explorer, and I have to sign in. I don't want to go through that. But I do have a quick question though. Which ocean liner do you think had the best interiors in your opinion, Tony?
Well, a lot of people are going to be upset by me saying this, but I don't think it was the Olympic class. I think they were great. However, I think a few of the, I don't want to say lesser known ships, but some ships that didn't quite have the notoriety, being the largest or on the most famous routes. I think trying to think of something that might come to mind, but I know the France of 1912. Now it was obviously this maiden voyage was right after the Titanic sinking, but I think a lot of times that ship is overlooked. I think the interiors were great. I think I know Aquitania is wonderful. I don't usually get too much into the interiors, but I know when I look sometimes and I just look at them and I focus on them and go, yeah, there's just something more to this. There's more depth or character. And don't get me wrong, Titanic's interiors were fantastic, and all of the Olympic class were. And I think something that really helps the fact that Olympics, some of the interiors of the Olympic are still around. That helps, keep the people that know those ships. They can see the interiors. You can appreciate them now, where all we see with other ships is photographs. So where you can go and actually see them and touch them, you can understand why. But yeah, I think there's some other ships out there that just had, like Majestic, Olympics running mate. I think the interiors of the Majestic, even the Berengaria, Leviathan, those three, I think those were just wonderful. I mean, look at the pool of the Berengaria or Imperator. It was built, right after Titanic was completed, and the Olympic class liners, their small pool. Then you see this just amazing pool. You're hard not to say this is more beautiful than that. You just can't not say that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ships that were underappreciated, and at the time they were appreciated, but now because we can only see pictures of them, I think a lot of that gets lost.
I know my favorite ship and their interiors is, of course, the Queen Mary. I've posted that a lot. Have you ever been on Mary at all, or?
Yep. 2017, the 50th anniversary of the ship's arrival in Long Beach. They had the gala, and we went out there. My mom actually came along, since she does a lot of the art shows with me. She comes and helps and spends a lot of time doing that. She came along to kind of appreciate all of that was going on, and it was quite the thing. I mean, dressed up, black tie. Not me. I'm not a black tie type person, but it was really neat, and getting a chance to go through the Queen Mary and appreciate, from what I always saw in books, was now a real thing. You could reach out and you touch it, and it was really it was surreal now that I'd actually experienced it. Stayed on board in one of the original staterooms that wasn't modified, so it had all the original woodwork and paneling, and it was really neat. was really exciting to do that.
I also have another question before we have to restart this. I hate doing that. I need to get the upgrade.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. If you know, I'm pretty sure people have asked this before, because I know people have asked me because I'm a historian. If we had a Rosie, get your tail out of the way. If you had a time, that's my cat. If you had a time machine, which era of liners would you go back to? Like the Warden era with like early 1900s or 1920s, 30s?
Well, the time machine wouldn't stop for me. It would start probably in the early 1900s and probably all the way through the 30s. I don't want to say I would stop in the 40s, but I think in the 30s there was so much progress that from the early 1900s all the way up to when World War II broke out with ocean liners and the way they evolved, and I definitely would want to visit a lot of those ships. I would definitely experience from probably from Oceanic all the way up to the Queen Elizabeth. I think that for me that particular era I think is probably the most interesting. So because yeah.
Oh, sorry. I know in the 30s, we had the Olympic, for not much longer, but we had the Olympic, the Leviathan, the Berengaria, the Conti di Savoy, the Rex, Empress of Britain, Empress of Japan. There's just so many ocean liners in the 30s. I think that's when the ocean liners were the most prettiest, probably from the 20s to the 30s, because
I think the peak was there that time. I think that's where the peak was. I really do. I mean, they built ships bigger and better, and but I think that time period was when it was really the absolute peak. Before everything got too gaudy and overdone, I think that particular, you talk about ships that, like you said, what are ships? My most beautiful ships. Well, the Rex and the Conte di Savoia. I mean, those two right there. And they weren't in service very long, unfortunately. So, yeah, I would definitely go back to that time. So, and experience the Edwardian era all the way up to, through the Art Deco period. I think that would be something to just experience.
We have like a minute 20 left, so I'm gonna end this one right here, and then we're gonna restart. Can everybody come back and rejoin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry about this, guys. I had to do this with Mr. Gareth Russell, and it is annoying. So I haven't had time to buy the Pro yet. I've been at work, and then when I get home from work, I just want to. So. All right.
Is it the same link? Is it the same link to use for the next meeting? So when you restart it, can we use the same link?
I think so, because that's how some people came back to the first one. So, and if not, I'll let y'all know.
Okay.
Okay, so let me end it and then I'll restart again. Hold on 1 second.
Bye.
Bye for 5 seconds. Hold on. Record. I just gave it to. Yeah, I just gave it to Joanna, so hopefully she'll. Okay.
Now I thought Jill was gonna join us, but.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Jill, to be honest with you. I have no idea.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, I don't know if it's like a new link or something, Joanna, but can you share it to Ryan, Amber?
Would have been. I don't know. I just clicked on it when I saw it, so.
Yeah, I can do that. I can share it with everybody.
Okay. Like I said, this is the last time I'm gonna do this 2-part thing, because it's always the wife to make the husband feel like he's an idiot. Okay, well, anyway. Anyway, back to the 1930s era of ocean liners. Me personally, I love the Conti more because her exteriors were much more appealing. But there's always been that question of which ship was better. Was it the Conti or was it the Rosie or was it the Rex? In your opinion, which one had better exterior? In your opinion, sir?
That's hard to say. Because the Rex was larger. It's hard to say which one was better looking because, I can say what I think, but somebody else would say, no, I like this better. So I think that really is up to whoever. I personally, I preferred the Rex because of the counter stern that it had. It didn't have that cruiser stern yet. And I think I like that one. It was large, it was larger. It was the fastest of the two. So, and I think honestly, I think the Rex got a bad rap because, it held the blue ribbon so short. They didn't even have a chance to really flaunt that it was the fastest. So, and it was in service such a short time. That's one that's to me. I think it's more forgotten than anything else. But I think the Rex really had a great exterior. I think that's probably one I would eventually like to draw. Probably both of them. But
does anyone have a question for Mr. Strublic?
Yes.
Strublic.
Yeah.
Strublic. Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure how you pronounce your last name. Sorry.
Hey, I've been called. My last name's been butchered so bad over the since I was a kid. It doesn't matter.
Kipper, sir. Kipper.
So
I'm
yeah,
with you.
Well, yeah, but your last name is Fox.
Yeah.
Mine.
Smathers. I'm right there with you. I'm right there. I can't tell you how many times they butchered my name.
Oh.
Losey.
Okay, so since we're talking about last names, I need to tell you guys my maiden name. Let me see if I can show it to you first and see if you can even pronounce it.
Whoa.
Can't
Still.
Looks like a lot of letters.
I'm out.
I don't know.
Because I'm host, it keeps going to different people's cameras, so I can't see it at all.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's awful small, but
Yeah, Fonschmidt.
oh,
Von Schmidt. That sounds German.
It is.
Yes. Oh, dang, I'm good.
definitely.
Okay. Going back to your drawing, sir. A lot of people actually wonder why you do not put color in your drawings anymore. Can you explain the reason why to people that don't understand why?
It's a good question, and it stems back from when I painted. I painted around 2000, and that's when I stopped. And I stopped. Mainly because I was graduating college and I was starting my life, and I didn't really at the time have a lot of chance to do anything. So painting got pushed to the back burner, and I was really sort of done with it because I saw so much color with ships being done, paintings, and I thought, I don't want to blend into the crowd. I don't want to get lost in the crowd, I should say. And started in about 2005. I started to do some serious thinking about what I wanted to do again. And I always liked to draw, always doodled and sketched, but I never did it really seriously. So I got on, the internet machine, and I searched pencil drawings of ships and any variation of what I could type in that I could see if I could pull up some pictures of stuff. And I saw very, very, very little of it. I thought, maybe this is something that I should try to do. And so I sat down and I started working on some pieces. And I look back at a couple that I do have from back, like 2009, 2010, that were the first serious attempts. And I actually kind of go, wow, okay, how things have changed and the style has evolved in 10 years is amazing. But the reason one of the reasons I don't put any color in the drawings is because I want it to be something different. I want it to be unique, because color has been done to death, and I think that this is something that's really more unique. I've had thoughts of like like doing some blending in of a little color, not completely coloring something in, but just putting a little touch of it in there just to give you the idea. But that opens up a completely different thing for me, because it would change back. I would have to start doing all color again. I think people would want that all the time. And my black and white pieces now, I think, would get lost. I think that they would be, people wouldn't want those as much anymore. I think that the way it's been growing, and it's a slow but steady growth, I think that that's a good thing. I don't want to have to start all back over again, because that's what would happen. But see, now the trick, and in your piece there, Kuiper, you can see it, that the mat that is around it, that's where I put color in it. So with that Titanic piece, the black would be the hull, and then that yellow gold would be the band all the way around the ship. So that is, can you hold that up a little closer, Kuiper, so you can see it? There you go. You can see the gold there. But that's why I do it that way. I like to put a little color. I like to represent the color there, but I don't put it in the drawing. So like the Edmund Fitzgerald, that's the other most popular example, is the color of the smokestack with the, it was a 3 split stack color-wise. So it had like a terracotta red and a band on the bottom, and then on the top, so divided in thirds, and then the center was a gold, a lot like that gold that's in that one there that you had. But I put that color around that, and once I explain that to people, because people will come into my booth or they'll look at it and kind of go, "Those are odd colors to put together." You wouldn't think that would, a terracotta and a yellow gold. You wouldn't think that, but that was their colors that they would use. So once I explain that to people, they look at it, and all of a sudden they'll go, "Oh, okay," and I get it. And that really, now it really means something to it, because it goes with it. It's not something that's just there to put a mat around it. It's meaningful. It goes with it. So that's my trick. I don't use color in the art, but I put it around it instead. So I had that idea, it's probably about 7 or 8 years ago now, and now that I'm doing a lot of my own matting, I'm able to do it. At first it was very hard to do, because it's, you have to buy a certain amount, or, they can be quite expensive to just buy. So, but that's the other thing too, as far as, kind of getting into cost wise. That's why a lot of my frame pieces can go a little less expensive, because I do everything. I don't send away for anything. And that's, I think a lot of times people can get nervous about wanting to get something, because I think they are expecting it to be a couple $100, or, like for a print, and that's not the case, because, we do just about everything. So the only thing I don't cut the glass, which I do have to purchase, and some of the mat board I still have to buy, because of certain colors I can't get. But yeah, it's all really done in house. But I hope that gives a good explanation. I would think it was a long explanation, but that's the reason why I do everything the way I do it.
And I think you're one of the greatest artists I've ever seen. Besides Ken Marshall, I think you actually, for no color whatsoever, you still bring this to life. It is absolutely gorgeous and amazing. And I think this is mine, because, I personally bought it for me. I think this is one of the best bow shots that they could make a Titanic, because when I think of this shot right here, I think of the 1997 movie, and when she's leaving Southampton,
Oh yeah.
that's the shot I think of.
Well, wait till you get that Olympic print.
Oh, Sarah's excited for it.
If you like the Titanic one, you're gonna love that Olympic one.
I'll probably get jealous and steal it from her. I'm kidding.
That's my favorite one I did of the Olympics so far. And it's funny too, that one, that Olympic original, and the for those that saw the Titanic leaving Southampton with the tug, I think I had that in the last Zoom meeting. And then I did another one of the Britannic. All three of those are actually in Australia. So those went a long way.
I also actually Rosie, geez, my cat's freaking on drugs today. I actually want to ask you a question, but I think I got the answer, but I just want to make sure. This side of the ship is lighter than that side. Is that because the sun is on this side, or?
Yep.
Okay, Sarah was right. All right.
Yep. Yeah, and I do that with every bow drawing I do. I like to highlight one side as opposed to the other, and it's two reasons why. One is because it gives the picture more depth. One side being darker than the other, and there's shadows then. If I did it with the sun coming directly at it, I think a lot of it, there'd be a lot of depth that would be lost. So that's why I do one side to the other. The other reason is mainly because a lot of times doing the detail of the hull is so difficult on one side. Trying to match that to the other with plating, it's very, very difficult to do. So I like to highlight one side and not the other. And I might put a little highlight in it in certain areas, but like anchors, I still will show an anchor on the opposite side, but it just helps to make it, I guess, makes it easier for me.
I mean, like I said, your art is completely brilliant. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was blown away because of the.
That's very nice of you to say. I mean, that really makes me feel good. I honestly, I know all of you people because of my art, and it's neat to know. It's neat that that's happened. People from all over the world. It's something that I never thought I would have that. It's really neat to know that so many people are appreciative and they like it, and it's something I really, honestly, humbly, I never thought I would have fans like that. So it really makes me feel good.
Bless you.
I'm cleaning and it's dusty in some spots.
Oh, my house is dusty up to the ceiling. But
I think we actually did have a question. I think Anka wanted to ask a question, but I was say, Anka, are you still there?
It says she's still here. I think she is.
I don't see her. Oh, there she is.
Well, I am actually here, but guys, I give it a last try. So if I'm now not allowed to ask my question, I don't do it. No, I was just kidding. Yeah, I actually have a question. So, first of all, nice to meet you again, Tony, and thank you so much for your drawing. I really appreciate that. I can't wait until it's here in Germany. I have to wait a little bit longer, but I'm looking forward. So I'm actually not sure, but I think I never saw a drawing of you from sinking Titanic. You never did one while she's sinking, right? May I ask you why you did not do it? So are there any reasons for that you are not drawing the sinking Titanic?
Well, there are a couple reasons, and it actually kind of stems to when I painted. I did do some sinking scenes, and granted, those are night scenes. So for me to properly portray a night scene with what I do would be difficult. Obviously it'd be very dark, and there'd be a lot of dark tones So I mean, that part of it, that alone would be very difficult as far as drawing. The other part is, and this kind of stems from the Edmund Fitzgerald, to go to a completely different ship. But I like to show the ships as they were, sailing, and not necessarily always in calm waters, but not in distress. I like to show them the way they were. And I know one reason is because of with the Edmund Fitzgerald, that I got to meet some of the family of some of the lost sailors, and they were very appreciative of the fact that I don't draw the ship broken up on the bottom. And with that shipwreck, all 29 men are entombed in the ship. No bodies were ever located. They were never recovered. They're all down there. And the family, they don't want to see pictures of, they don't want to see people drawing, or paintings like that. And they're out there, but that's something I just didn't want to do. I didn't want to focus on that. I didn't want to focus on the tragedy part of it. I wanted to show the beauty, the majesty, sailing proudly, those types of things. So that's really, really one of the reasons why. Now, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I like seeing certain, like the Titanic sinking paintings and things of that nature. But for me personally, I don't want to portray them that way. So those are really the main reasons, because it just stemmed from the Fitzgerald, and being able to meet some of those people and how they were affected by it. It's quite speaking of humbling, it's very humbling to be able to talk to those people and understand what they've gone through, and saying that, okay, this is just not something I want to do. So it's a very good question, and it comes up once in a while, and I hope people understand that. I mean, I'm sure I definitely could do something like that, but it's not something I focus on.
Yeah, but I like this intention, to be honest. So to just show the ships in their, so to say, whole beauty, not in distress, not as a wreck at all. So I'm sure you easily could do that. With your talent, you could easily draw Titanic while sinking. Pardon me. But yeah, I like this reason, actually. And I really do understand. So thank you for answering.
It's a question that comes up once in a while, especially at shows too. Normally on a normal show season, that you get a lot of people that come in, and you hear a lot of the same questions, and that one comes up. Could you draw it? Split in half on the bottom, and I'll answer no, and then I'll explain why. And then people, they get it. I've never once had anybody say, "Well, you're not, whatever, you're not an artist then if you're not gonna do that." I've never had anybody. So,
sorry, that made me laugh. Sorry.
But no, it's you hear some really strange stuff when you're dealing with the public and at shows.
I work in retail, sir. I don't have time to tell all the stories I've seen.
So you understand.
Yeah,
So.
I do. But if people do get offended by that, I'm like, well, you gotta remember, yes, it is interesting seeing these shipwrecks, like the Titanic or Lusitania or Edmund Fitzgerald, Andrea Doria, the list goes on and on. But people gotta understand that these are grave sites. People are still, I don't think the bodies are down there anymore, but that's where they're forever engraved into the ship. So
now I gotta tell you, like with the Edmund Fitzgerald, and I don't know if this came up in the last Zoom meeting, but they have a ceremony every November 10th, which is when the Edmund Fitzgerald went down. And they have it at Whitefish Point, which is, like I said earlier, it's 17 miles away from where the Edmund Fitzgerald went down. And in 1995, they brought up the bell off the top of the pilot house. So Great Lakes ships are built very much differently than ocean liners. So they put certain things in different areas than they would on an ocean liner. But for Great Lakes ships, a lot of times they either affix them to the top of the pilot house on a stand. You know, they put it on a stand and they would have it welded to the top of the pilot house. Or on a lot of the older Great Lakes ships, the foremast was right behind the pilot house, and they put it affixed to there. So they did bring that up off the wreck, which is what the family members wanted. They wanted something to have as a memorial, and you know, they brought the voice of the ship up from the bottom, and it offended a lot of people, but that's what the families wanted, and I think they had every right to have that done. But November 10th, they have the ceremony, and actually through my artwork is how this happened, where 2015 was the 40th anniversary of the ship sinking, and I wanted to go to the ceremony. I'd never been there before, and I was preparing 2 pieces of art for the actual ceremony. That in what ended up happening was they had them on display in they had a second room set up where normally where their gift shop is. They had it all cleared out and seating in there because there was a huge overflow of people, and they set those up in there on display, which was in itself quite an honor, you know, with all the people that have been involved with that over the years. But one of the crew members' families, she contacted me and asked me that, you know, they were not able to attend, and they wanted to have somebody ring the bell for their dad. And, you know, being Father's Day, you know, this is kind of a good story for Father's Day. They wanted me to ring the bell for their dad. And that was, you know, something that, I mean, you know, you get kind of misty thinking about it, even, because it's what an honor to have, you know, a connection to the ship in that way. You know, and I immediately said yes, because how can you not say yes to something like that? But, you know, you talk about an experience that will never ever leave me, is doing that. So the ceremony runs. They have some speakers. They have some guest speakers. They have a prayer, and then they do the bell ringing, and they have one person come up. They call the sailor's name, and then they have a representative come up, and, you know, you grab the lanyard and you pull the bell towards you, and it chimes. And again, remember, this is the actual bell off the ship, so it's not a reproduction. So when this thing rings, it goes through everybody. I mean, it is loud. I mean, the bell itself is probably, you know, close to an inch thick. But pulling that and ringing that bell and having that feeling, you know, this is the Edmund Fitzgerald. This is really the ship. You know, to have an experience like that is something I'll never forget. And I actually did it 3 years in a row for that family. So that was an experience I will never forget. But you talk about, you know, people being in, you know, the grave sites and things like that. It's just an honor to have participated in something like that, to honor somebody's family that way. It really gives you a new perspective on how to think of victims of shipwrecks like that. You know, I just knew the names of the sailors, never really knew anything much of them other than their roles on the ship. But you really learn something about, you know, you really learn something about them, and you learn something about yourself when you get an honor like that. So yeah, it's something I'll remember forever. So
I do understand completely what you mean, because when last time I went to Queen Mary, there was this Titanic museum. I think it's San Pedro or something. It was San Pedro or like the next city over from Long Beach. I can't remember which city it was. But the actual whistles were there. And when I actually touched them, all of a sudden I just felt dread. So I actually started crying because I just touched basically.
Everybody has their own reaction to it. Yeah.
I can't even describe it just hit me like a ton of, you know how you feel when you get like breaking sad news and you just feel like a brace of collapse. That's how I felt. It was just that sadness was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I completely understand what you mean by ringing that bell. These dang, my mind went blank. Does anyone have a question for my like Ryan? Do you have a question?
Yes, I mean I do.
Jake, not Ryan. Jake, because I know you probably had a. Sorry.
Hi Tony. My question is, if I mean we all know that you've drawn the Titanic being launched. Would you ever consider depicting the Britannic or the Olympic or the Nomadic being launched from Belfast, just to complete the?
You know, I've never thought of that. Ryan's excited about it.
I'm sure we would buy that.
I would, yeah. You know, those are not ones I never really considered. I mean, it would be a good idea. Obviously, they're all a little different at launch because, you know, Olympic was light gray, Titanic was black, and Britannic was more of a dark gray. But yeah, I guess they all look differently. I think doing Olympic and Britannic would be more difficult because of the fact which side of the gantry they were launched from. You know, you look at Titanic where it was launched. You know, it was on the riverside slip, and it was very easy to be able to see the entire ship coming out of the gantry. It would have to be more of a stern view, a lot like the photos that there are of the launching. So, I mean, that was the kind of the idea behind that Titanic piece was to give an angle that wasn't seen at the launch. You know, we all saw the ship coming out from the back. We saw it from the front, but no one really saw it from the front. So unless someday a photo emerges of that event actually happening, and I shouldn't say there weren't, because there were a few, but there weren't a complete view of the ship. You know, there were some where you could see the stern from a similar side that I drew that. But it would be more of a challenge. Nomadic would be very difficult because, you know, the slip that Nomadic was built and launched from, you have the gantry right next to it, Olympic being constructed right next to it. They would be very, very challenging pieces. Not to say they would be impossible, but they would be challenging. I know that Titanic one took a while. And again, not because of the ship itself. The ship itself took the least amount of time of probably any Titanic piece I ever did, because I didn't have to focus on the funnels and the mast, rigging, lifeboats. You know, there wasn't any of that. The gantry itself is what took the longest. So it would definitely be something. Go ahead, come on, commission it.
I'm sure with all your passion and the hard work that you put into your artwork, I'm sure you'd be able to pull it off.
I think so. It would take quite a long time, but I think it could be done.
Yeah, I know we have 10 minutes left. Big announcement. Well, I guess we're down to our last 10 minutes of the Zoom meeting. So, if anyone has if anyone else besides Jake, no, I'm kidding, Jake. If anyone else has a question, go ahead and shoot. Or shoot, that's a Southern talk for going ahead and ask. Okay, I guess. Yeah.
I have one.
Okay.
Tony, what would be your dream commission to do?
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. That's a very hard question to answer. I don't really even know I don't know. I've done Titanic. I've done other liners. I think it would be more or less not a ship, but maybe who it would be for. That might be more of an appropriate answer.
Draw a picture of me.
And not to say that anyone is not less is important than the other. I don't mean to offend anybody, obviously, but I don't know. It's a very hard question. I think it would, the ship itself, or any ship itself, any ship would be a great commission, but I think it would be maybe more or less, like a famous historian, like a Bill Miller,
Mr. Oceanliner.
to work with somebody like that. Trying to come off the top of my head. John Maxton Graham, he's not with us anymore. He would have been somebody to, Mr. Oceanliner. You talk about knowing everything there would possibly be to know about a ship, to maybe have something of mine in a collection of somebody like that. I think that would be that would have been neat. I think that's probably the best answer I could give. I think the drawing the ship, I don't think it's as important as maybe who it might go to. So, a good question. It was a very difficult question.
I have another one as well. Now, this one is really out there, right? If you were approached and somebody came to you, I'm not saying me at all. If somebody who came to you and said, Tony, I want you to draw me a replica scale plan, like just normal basic plan of what they have in Harlan the Wolf, would you do it?
Whew. Boy. I've never considered myself a blueprint drawer, but
now, nothing technical, nothing like not like a rivet plan or like a plating plan, just a basic, like the main blueprint.
Interiors, right? Like where the interiors were. Kind of way.
It's more for the decks and the bulkheads and things like that there.
Yeah.
But
cutaway from top to bottom, like something like that.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. I will. Somebody else ask a question. I'll actually try and see if I can find a photo. Actually, I think I have one right here. Hold on.
I'll make a comment. I can make a comment more than a question. Okay, so when you were talking about not putting much color in your drawings or not coloring them, whatever, I totally get that because, okay, so you saw the drawing I did in high school. Well, I've done a few different drawings of Titanic, and then the last one I did, I decided to turn it into a painting because I'm just a beginning painter.
Okay.
I messed it. All this time.
Oh, nice. The color behind it is really, really great.
Sunset. That's amazing, Amber.
Thank you. But if you look at it close, I messed up all of this.
It looks like Aquatania a little bit, to be honest, or Mauritania.
Don't worry.
Drawing, though.
If you think I was an expert, when I started, no. I mean, you learn as you go.
You're a better drawer than I am.
I mean, that's the thing. You learn as you go. The more research you do, the more you learn, and you see things and go, okay, that's what that looks like, and so absolutely. But the color behind it, it's great. I love that. I love that color back there.
Thank you. Yeah, I just learned to paint like 3 years ago, and I love it. It's so fun, but it's really hard sometimes.
Oh yes, totally agree.
Come on.
There
you go. This is what I can draw. There you go.
Beautiful, Kipper.
Now, I was thinking something along the like you're going to be like, what? Something along the lines of that.
Oh yeah. Oh sure. Yeah, that's something I would definitely.
I'd buy that in a heartbeat.
I see what you're saying there. Yeah. See, I was thinking you were talking about like an overhead, from A deck, B deck, C deck, something like that. A profile blueprint look. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would definitely be something that I would be able to do. for sure.
I might get you to do it in like big scale. I'm talking the big.
And it is sort of limited to the size that I can work with as far as the board I can get too. The board size that I'm sort of limited to is it's a 20 by 30 inch, which in reality doesn't seem that big, but once you see it, it's big. In a frame, once you get something like that frame, it's 24 by 36. That's a big piece. That's a fireplace piece. You're gonna put that over a big spot in your living room or wherever. So I mean, that's gonna cover a lot of room. But yeah, something like that. Let's talk. Let's do it. I mean, it would be very, very interesting to see, especially what side you'd want to go with. I would like to see from the port side, because that way you get the windows of the a la carte restaurant on B deck.
There's a reason why I'm looking at done, but I see we're on a bit of a time limit here, so I will talk to you at some point about the whole story about this. But basically, to sum it up, I used to have a set of photocopied original plans from Harlan the Wolf like that, and they were stolen. So, but anyways, that's a whole other story. But I see there's like a time limit here, so I'll hand it back to Kipper if he wants to wrap stuff up.
Did you say Amber stole them?
No, I said somebody stole them.
Oh, I think you said, but Amber stole them. I was gonna say, hey, now I've not met you in person yet, so that didn't happen.
I'm not sure if Jake has a question, but if you do, bud, make it like 30 seconds.
No, not really.
I saw your hand raised on there.
No. Have you ever considered obviously taking your artwork away from ships and actually doing historical characters such as Captain Smith or anybody from the Titanic or other ships?
Like
drawing the people? Yeah, drawing them, yeah.
That's something I don't, that is not in my wheelhouse, pardon the pun. But it's not necessarily something I focus on. It's really a different type of style, from architectural type drawings to drawing life. It's very, very different. It would take me some time to master that. So as of right now, I say no, but.
All right, guys. Well, sadly, we only have 1 minute left, and don't worry, guys. This will be like the last time. We'll have to do a 2-part series. After I get paid again, I want to buy Pro.
Upgraded.
Yeah, I'm gonna upgrade. This is getting annoying. All right. Well, I would like to thank Tony Strublic for joining, and sir, thank you for joining my group. It's very humble that you a famous artist like you would actually join my group. And I would also like to thank Titanic Connections for joining in this time.